so what happens is when you start to get stressed and I've realized like by staying plugged into my family, and them living in their patterns and and their cycles. It creates stress. And then, and because I care about them so much, that stress kind of comes on me, and then I start breaking down because I take a lot of over the years, I've taken a lot of their stress on at times.
Yeah.
And
I used to do that as well.
Yeah. And then when I get that stress, what do? I turn to my vice because I want relief, right? Anytime. So if you're a drinker and, you're stressed, you turn to that drink. To relieve that stress.
Yeah.
If you're a weed smoker, you turn to the weed. Or if you're sometimes people have shopping habits. Well, for me, it's sex. So I'm looking for any kind of I was looking for relief. So I want to be what it is and I recognized it. What it is I want to be comforted. And I'm a man that's not in a relationship.
Right.
Because over my life, I was not, intentional, and I was not, I didn't know what I wanted.
Well, you were figuring out your path.
Exactly. And, I didn't see what I see now as a little bit older man. And, I forgot where I was going with that, but, so, I mean, I turned back to, when you're getting comforted, then things sometimes pop off. So now I realize, I'm like,
was there a triggering moment with your family that you were like, I need to go back to my vice?
No, not necessarily. It's just it's a buildup. What it is it's like mental exhaustion. And when I'm mentally exhausted, I'm more vulnerable. So like any of us, like if we overwork ourselves, or if we're we're just a situation, man. We've been fighting for years, and we're fine. We're just wore out. That's when I'm vulnerable. That's when my defenses are down. And that's when. And so what I realized is that's when, the some would say the enemy comes in, and the enemy makes you think in a different way, and you're like, man, I need relief. But my thing is now though is like I wasn't looking for sex to relieve me. I was looking for comfort.
Okay.
And sex was a byproduct of this comfort?
Well, when someone's holding you, when you're holding them, and next thing you know, things get frisky. Yeah. So then I'm like, oh wow, okay, so things pop off, right? And then next thing you know, I'm in I'm back in a situation. I'm back in a situation again. And then now I have to...
Is this with a past fling?
What's that?
Is this with a past fling?
It's not really like a fling. It's really what it is like...
It's not the person I hope it's not, right?
No. It's...
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
It's just okay. It's a friend, and we've we've built a
level of
trust and friendship, and so then I realized, like, I see the pattern now. You know what I'm saying? I see the pattern. So and then once I do that, it's like, oh, that felt good, So then you create that bridge now, that choice bridge. So now you got that poor choice bridge. And then now when you're starting to feel it, but you got to recognize it. You got to capture it, and then you got to fight it. You got to fight. So if you make the mistake, you got to fight back because, because I necessarily know, Tom, I'm just trying to get it out.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So what I'm trying to say is like, because like what happens is I lose my train of thought and I can't really fire, get it. Fire. Yeah. So I'm firing. But I don't know where I lost it now. But anyways, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, so in terms of like, with what you were just saying, like, how do you remedy that? Like, how do you like figure out where you're going down that wrong path and not create that, if you will, that bridge, as the hypothetical bridge that you were just speaking about, to, not make that bad decision, like because of you're in need of comfort or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
Like, how do you find and I'm asking this for anybody that would be listening in, is that, like you're searching for something that is meaningful to you, is what I got from what you were saying. So how do you find that maybe in a different outlet instead of just like thirsting for, sex or whatever that, could be, at the time seems very advantageous for you, and you're going to feel good for as long as it lasts, and then you're going to get high, and then you're going to go.
That was my point, though. I wasn't searching for sex. So you know what I'm saying?
You're doing it out of comfort.
I was searching for like comfort. Like
right.
So like I'm talking to.
But how do you do that? How do you take that driver, right, and find something else that is a motivational factor for you to become better? And it may be something that you may not have an answer for.
Well, my motivational factor before was God, and then that's what I said. So I've done so great, but now I see, like, with my disobedience, how my thoughts turned. Okay. So once I was disobedient, like, I felt terrible because I already know. I know where this goes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know how this works.
You've already lived this life.
I've lived this life. I know how this works, right? But then all of a sudden, now my brain started thinking a different way. So like I've been in a battle to try to get myself back out of this.
So you've had the devil on your shoulder for a while.
The devil's on my shoulder the last couple weeks.
To the angel.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to get myself back. I'm trying to get myself back to where I was, where I had my peace. Because what happened is I destroyed my peace by falling for my vice.
Okay.
So and then it threw all my routines off. So all my routines are off. Like, and I've been like fighting to get my routines back in check and feel, my prayer, feel my, So what I'm trying to say is I understand what happens out there now. Like as men, like when we make mistakes like that, we're disobedient to even some people that don't know God. You naturally feel bad when you do bad things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then it creates more bad choices unless you capture it and you fight it back and you figure, and you got to get your peace. It's like you got to go back to the drawing board and you got to start all over again. And that's why they say, like, repent, release, but then you got to forgive yourself. You ask God for forgiveness, but you got to forgive yourself as well. And then that's a process. And then the tricky thing is, even after you forgive yourself, now you got to make sure you don't do it again. And that's hard because now you done built that connection.
Right.
So now when she's stressed, you don't call me. When I'm, and then now I got to battle that.
Right. But that goes back to something that you have mentioned multiple times on previous podcasts of holding yourself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not saying that lightly in the aspect of, and I think that this potentially like caters to anyone that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to hold yourself accountable. If you know that this is your vice,
yeah,
and you know that this is where you become weak in a time of need, then you need to figure out your outcome on your resources on how for this not to happen yet again. Because if you live in this habitual habit of letting things reoccur, then no one's to blame but you. Because you're choosing not to make yourself better.
Oh, trust me. Like, yeah. I know that for sure, dude.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying, like, just to put it out there, like, that's the big step. If you're gonna make yourself better, you need to do what you got to do. I mean,
for sure,
for sure. Woods.
And it's not a shame on anyone or anything. It's just more the aspect of, you're gonna make that effort, you need to make the whole effort. It's not a half-ass situation.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. But it's
people get weak.
It goes to self-discipline.
Yes,
it's really 100%. What it is. And like I said, I've done a great job, man. I've battled very well.
You have.
I've battled very well to get to where I'm at. But and what I'm trying to say,
And I've been very proud of you.
What I'm trying to say is also is like, even though you fail,
You get back up.
You have to be resilient.
Yeah.
You have to get back up, and you got to keep fighting, because in the world's view of what I've done, the world would see nothing wrong with what I've done, because I'm not married, I'm not in a relationship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
you're holding yourself to a higher standard.
I'm holding myself to a higher standard, and I'm holding myself to a godly standard, and I know I know what happens. So like, I know that that's wrong, and I don't. And what happens is pain. People get hurt because like, once you have that intimate connection, you know what I'm saying. And that's what keeps me at peace, man. When I'm not having sex, like, I'm so peaceful, But then what happens is, like I said, it's like a buildup, man.
The animal inside just starts getting thirsty.
But that's why we have a wife, right? Because then you can share your intimacy with somebody, and so now I see. That this is why, because you're going to have those urges. You're going to go through stress. You're going to need that person to comfort you, So it's like, I'm getting closer, I believe, to understanding the concept, of having that person to be there for you, and you be there for that person.
Yeah, that's
fair. And so this is all part of the process, man.
But with what you're saying though, I feel like that caters into, so much more just beyond kind of like your scenario here. Like, whether it be just kind of like, personal growth and all that kind of stuff, like, excluding the, the sex aspect or whatever the aspect is like, not to be whatever, but like, I've seen our producer here, Kenny, you're talking a guy that has strived for excellence, and he has lived in an environment that was very less than for a long time. Absolutely. But he never lost sight. I guess the most important thing that I'm trying to say is that he never lost sight of what he wanted, what his goals were, and what his needs were. And he kept on striving to make that happen. Absolutely. Over and over again. And yes, I mean, John, and you as well, but we all mess up, we trip, we bump our lip, it is what it is, but you figure out how to work around that, how to get beyond that, like how to be better. So it's just kind of one of those situations. So I say all that in the aspect of you, as well as anybody else that'd be listening, you're not alone. It's
that was my main point of like sharing the story is, I want other men to know that they're not alone. Like, you can, right? And honestly, man, and this is probably what goes on in the the Christian world as well. It's like everywhere. It's like, just because you're trying your best, you're out there fighting, and you're trying to help others and all that. Fight. Yeah, you're fighting a good fight. You're still gonna have your slips and your falls and your mistakes, and like 100%. People, and like, it's your walk.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and that's what people got to understand. Like, so some people will be like, and I keep hearing this from people, is like, I stay away from religion or spirituality because look at them, they're hypocrites. But that's their walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't judge God off of their walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you and your relationship with God is intimate. That's your relationship. That he'll whoever it is, him, her, they'll pay for what they got to eventually. That's what happens, man.
Right.
You pay for it some way or another, man. And now I see, like all those teachings, man, like I see how they work. And I noticed that when you make bad choices, that brain does like a turn. You know what I'm saying? And then you start to see
go back
things
to that thirsty environment.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then you start to look for that instant gratification. You just want to like, you want to feel good, you want relief. It's like, okay, you done turned to the wrong thing. So what I was supposed to do is stay plugged in the way I've been doing. And that's where I would seek my peace. And like John was just saying over here, is get to the woods. get to the mountains. And like, and I've been trying to, get there, you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to set everything up to get there, but it's coming. But it's just, God is so amazing, because for one, his grace and his mercy is just unbelievable. Like, but the things he does to make us like grow, he gave me brain injuries to get me to think right. Now he has led me through all these psychologists and these neuro psych doctors and all this stuff. Like, he's led me to this lady who does like cognitive rehabilitation. Okay. And she says, the first things out of her mouth, she says, she's like, I understand that you had a medical retirement, but she's like, I don't want you to think that.
Well, yeah, you need to be in the right frame of mind with that. Like, you can't just, like, because I'm technically a disabled veteran.
Yeah.
But I'm not walking around like, trying to hold that crutch in my life. Like, it is what it is.
She's like, you don't have to live. She's like, the first thing I'm going to say before we start this, this pre-interview or whatever, she's like, is you don't have to live in this box. And I appreciated that. I was like, you're right. And she's like, okay. And then she's like, asked me a bunch of questions. We're talking. And then she's like, well, at the end of the talk, she's like, I'm going to teach you how to be, it's a 15-week program. Okay. She's like, and I'm going to teach you, she's like, how to be strategic and intentional and to know what you want. And I was like, look at God. Yeah, I couldn't get it right on my own. So he sent me to a professional by me, like, trusting him and to keep doing what he's like, everything he's told me to do, I've done pretty much until I was disobedient recently. And I just trusting him, has led me to the right help to get me, like, even beyond everything, get me, even more,
get you squared away,
like, and so I'm like, man, this is just crazy, man. So yeah, I'll be starting that program, and it's going to take a lot of like dedication, and
it's the right thing to do, though.
But she said, basically what she said, because when you start digging in there and you put me to the test with things, man, I'm not good. Obviously, it showed up. It was terrible.
Well, yeah, I know we talked about before where she can see where things weren't just they were just a little misaligned, and that's their goal, is to kind of get them back in line and get you back to, or as close as what they can, back to that origination, right? So
absolutely. Well, she said what it is we're gonna. She's like, it's like, lifting weights. You strengthen your body physically.
Right.
She's like, we're gonna strengthen your mind physically. Like, you're gonna build a nice, strong foundation. Okay. And know how to think, accomplish, and get things done. And and she broke it down. And I'm like, man, I'm like, this is very important for me, because this will be the foundation to the rest of my life. So if there's anything that I need to accomplish or I want to do moving forward, I know the techniques and the strategies. So I'll know the techniques and the strategies to do so, because right now, whenever I try to take a step forward to do something, I'm all over the place.
So, going back to what you said before, and this is a conversation that John and I had about, like, conversations in general, and, the framing the conversation and all that kind of stuff, of like finding out, like, kind of, if you will, if you want to call it, where you're weak at and that kind of stuff, or trying to make sure that you're not inviting yourself into the wrong type of conversation. So, with kind of prefacing going into a conversation, of structuring it, of like creating the thought going into this conversation of like, this is what I want to talk about, instead of this is what I want you just to complain to me about. Like, which I feel like is huge. And, that in itself, with your growth and all that kind of stuff is going to be a very important thing. That way you're inviting kind of that right, attractive chemistry, whether it be conversational or just whatever, into your life going forward, just, framing the conversation as you're kind of building the conversation. So it's, what you're trying to invite. Not saying that you're closed off to a conversation, because if anything, more conversation in different avenues is going to create growth, yes. But, if you have that, and if you're trying to key in on something that maybe potentially you're weak at, then framing that conversation so you can focus in on that one thing is so important.
Oh, for sure. And that goes back to intentionality.
Yeah.
And it's like being intentional. So, it's just being intentional, being strategic, and being organized. I was organized, but I was never intentional, and I was never strategic. Really, in my life.
I would disagree with you.
Financially, I was strategic.
Well, okay. So yeah, but I'm talking about over these last couple months since we've started this podcast, you've been very intentional.
Oh.
Now, granted, as with what you have said, I have not seen, but of kind of falling off the horse a little bit, if you want to call it that. I feel like this is there's a stirrup there on the side of the horse waiting for you to get back on. It's just for you to take that step in, right? So just make it happen.
Well, no, definitely. And that's what I'm going to do because, like I said, resiliency is important.
Right.
So, and it's even like with your walk with God, man, you got to be resilient. Like you're disobedient, but you got to plug back in. You got to plug back in, man. And that's where I'm at. Like, because I know that the Prince of Peace gives me peace, man.
Right.
And I need to get back there. So, but yeah, I just wanted to, to share that and, hopefully, someone out there, that helped to some degree,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that being said, it's like, the biggest thing is like, kind of just listening to all that and kind of unpacking that, leverage your friends. Leverage the people around you that are important to you, that are willing to, hear your message and being able to, speak to that message and being able to hold you accountable with what you were saying, right? So, move onwards and upwards, but, just understanding that sometimes you're going to slip.
Oh, yeah.
The people that you trust and you keep in your inner circle, they're going to be the people that lift you back up and, put you back on the heels and the balls of your feet and say, hey, just because you slipped, ain't no big deal, homie. We got you. We'll ride and die with you. Like, all right, so a little bump in the road. Not a big deal. We got you.
No, for sure.
Yeah, so
I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, but
ultimately it comes down to how I feel, and what I, about how I feel about like,
right.
who I am and what I'm doing, and now I notice when you make those bad choices, how it can shut you down, and it can, it's messed with me. It's confused me for several days, maybe a week, maybe two. I don't even know how long I kind of lost track.
All right.
I've been confused. And in all that time, that kind of took away the good that I could be doing. Because and I'm not saying I'm doing bad, but at the same time, I'm confused. So I'm no good to, help others, and I'm not. So I'm like, man, so this is how it works, and I'm noticing like, man, my, how that messed me up. So it's like a poor, really, what it comes down to is us making better choices, and I know that, as men.
Okay.
As men, it's like, when we make healthy choices, we have a healthy life.
Yeah.
When we make poor choices, we end up having a negative life because if you continue to make poor choices, if you don't catch it, it's like a domino effect. But if you make healthy choices, it's like a domino effect as well.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You can catch all of our episodes on YouTube and Spotify at Better Gents Podcast and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Better Gents Pod. Thank you and take care.